Right, good evening, members, officers. Welcome to this Grounds Environmental Services Committee meeting. First, start off with apologies. I've so far had Mark Councillor Davis, Councillor Henson Gurney. Any others?
We also have apologies from councillors Glenna Hassett, Adams and John Gurney. John Gurney is online.
Ah, fine, okay. And I believe Councillor Reardon has sent an apology as well.
She's
Or
not
standing apology.
She's not on this committee.
Not on this committee, okay.
She is, I think I've seen.
Yeah,
Take that back. Yeah.
She is.
Yeah.
I think we should list that.
In that case, we
she
should
is, has sort of given the blanket. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Members know that if there's something that they have a particular interest in, which meets the criteria, they can declare it now or at the appropriate time when we get to it at the agenda item. Any currently?
Yeah,
Yes.
Councillor Henderson. I do have an allotment of my own for when we get to that item.
Okay, thank you. Public question time?
Don't have any members of the public.
No members of the public, so no questions. To agree the minutes of the meeting of the 15th of September. Are colleagues happy that the minutes are a correct record?
Yeah.
Can I sign those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Indents on plans.
Yeah.
So that's it done. No, you did. No, you did. Plans.
Right, the next item on the agenda is the meeting of the plans subcommittee. As usual, I'll go through those page by page. If colleagues have any comments on any of the items, then please let me know. I've got page 7 here. This is the Monday, the 15th of September, starting at 10 Icknield Street. That's seated page 7, page 8. And then there's the meeting on the 13th of October, which seems to be page 9, starting 23 High Street North. I did make the comment that, and I've made it before, that I wish that when Central Beds recorded these matters, they could at least give us a clue as to what shop or office is there at the moment, because that would help us identify what it is that we're dealing with. I know the plan subcommittee will have done this, but it would be helpful, and I simply make that as a matter of comment. There we are. So 23 High Street North, that's on page 9, page 10. Okay, fine. Well, they're all okay. Do I have to sign those now? No, yes, still the plans, yeah. Right, we move on to the action tracker then. Allotment land at each recreation ground. Well, this is being looked at to see whether each ground that we look at is suitable for an allotment. We've looked at 2 so far, Kingsbury and Brewers Hill, and neither of them we've regarded as suitable. Any other comments that anyone wants to make on that? The matter is ongoing because we're going to be looking at the other green play areas. Salting and gritting, disappointing that Central Beds hasn't come back to us so we could progress this. I think somebody from Central Beds was going to take this up. Might have been one of our absent colleagues. Obviously not anybody here at the moment who's a twin hatter. No?
No, I don't believe it was me now. I think
Okay.
it was Kensington Gurney.
Yeah, well, perhaps if we can remind Councillor Gurney then maybe. CCTV review carried out across the council's estate. That's obviously going to take time, so that's why it's ongoing. And the compliance manager, we've got a new compliance
We have got a new
manager.
compliance manager,
Yeah,
yes.
so it's a she, isn't it?
It is Corinne, yes.
Yes. So she will be looking at this and will presumably have a report.
There'll be, yes, and she's prepared to report to FGP next week, which will include that within our work programme.
Excellent. And finally, antisocial behaviour working group. This is going to be set up for February. The date is not as yet concluded, but a lot of work's going on in this actual department. So that's taken a little bit of a back seat, but we will get round to that, and it will be a thorough investigation. Any comments on the tracker? No? Okay, thank you very much. Right, we move on to cemetery allotments and recreation grounds. And we start off with the cemetery, and that's Mary.
Thank you. Good evening, members. It's a short report this time. Grounds maintenance continues and the summer bedding has now been removed and replaced with the winter and spring bedding. I just want to say that the Friends are very supportive and they are still coming every 2 weeks. So we do really appreciate their help.
Indeed.
Just moving on to the allotments. There are currently 302 people on the waiting list. And this has risen by 13 since the last report. We had inspections in October and re-inspections in November. And as a consequence, we've issued 33 notices to cultivate. 2 tenants have given up their tenancy and we have issued 2 notices to quits. The next full inspections will now take place in April next year.
Okay. Yes, we were very grateful to the members of the cemetery group who come along and help. It's nice to see that another successful community group. Right, recreation grounds.
Thank you, Chair. Good members. Since this last report, there have been 12 repairs to play areas, including sort of repairs of some safety services and swing shackles and zip wires. Work is progressing with buying 4 self-closing gates. They're currently on order and are due to be delivered within the next couple of weeks.
And those, I believe, are 2 at Grove House Gardens, 1 at Kingsbury and 1 at Downside.
That's correct, yes.
Kingsbury one, members will remember we've had a discussion about that and whether there needed to be some different gate there, but we decided that it should be as is here.
Due to some delays, there were some delays in getting the inclusive seesaw back in Grove House Gardens play area. That's now been completed. It's all open and sort of ready for use. Sports areas and general maintenance. The grounds team are continuing with grass cutting. We've had a lot of milder weather, so they'll continue with that, which may have an impact on some of the winter work if that continues into later into the season. The winter bedding has now gone in across the town, with some new bulbs also being included into that bedding scheme. So. The football season is well underway, with 77 have been being played since this report was written. So that's 37 games on senior pitches, 21 games on youth pitches, and 19 games on 9x9 pitches.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Henderson has a question on this.
Yeah, thanks very much. I thought it was really helpful to see this information. I just wondered if it might be possible to have some further information about what capacity is there and how many games against that capacity we're actually using.
Okay.
Yeah, I can have a look into that and see what.
Okay.
We appreciate it's a sort of a little, not quite a finger in the air, but it depends on weather and everything else and the pressure on the.
It does, yeah. I mean, obviously, well, we can have a look into it, sort of see what figures we can sort of put.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Jones.
Can I also ask for us to have a breakdown of where those matches are being played? I'm just interested to see how many have actually been played, say, at Kingsbury compared to other places in the town. I've got residents continually talking to me about the impact that the football's having at Kingsbury, especially when the pitches are being occupied Saturdays and Sundays, with the impact of parking in that area. So it'd just be quite nice to see the breakdown of where, so we can tell other residents, you know, you're not the only ones having a similar issue.
Can we add that to
I'll have a good look into what we're doing as far as football sort of pitches are doing and games, and sort of see what information I can provide to do the process.
We've got pictures at Bennett's, at Kingsbury.
Downside, Newton, and Ridgeway.
So that's 5, yeah. So it shouldn't be too difficult to look at the bookings.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So the town rangers are currently spending a week in each of the 5 wards at a time to try and rotate as much of their time as possible, and looking at addressing issues as they find them, along with anything reported. They've had 32 internal requests for work and 29 requests from the general public. So since the last.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, the town range doing an excellent job around the town. We're very grateful to them.
Thank you.
Councillor Tamara.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question on going back to the play area. I just wanted to confirm, I've not had time to actually go back to Bruce Hill play area. Just wanted to confirm that the football play area for the young people, is that being repaired and done?
So they put sort of some soil into the hole there to try and sort of try and rectify it as best as they can. So
Okay,
so
thank you.
Yes,
I just wanted to ask one on the topic for the solar bench out here in Grove House. Did something happen to that one because of the, I couldn't see, been removed or?
Yes, it was actually smashed up.
Oh, crikey.
And it's probably been uninstalled whilst we wait to see what we can do by way of repair.
Oh, yeah.
So if it's not there at the moment, that's probably the reason for it. I haven't had a recent report on it, but I can look into that and see what's happening.
any further questions? Councillor Jones.
Didn't have to be the same weekend as Squirrel got smashed up then as well.
No, it was a number of weeks before that.
Okay. Lost the squirrel as well in the garden.
Yeah. Okay, so is this obviously is do we know, do we have any information on who is doing this? Is this young people around the bandstand all the time, or this is just antisocial behavior that we cannot pinpoint where they come from?
The CCTV camera in Grovehouse Gardens would probably be able to see the squirrel, but I haven't had a report from the CCTV control room that they've got any footage that would be useful to.
Has it been requested then?
Yeah, I haven't requested it, but they normally notify us when they've got something that's useful for us.
Does it cover the solar bench as well? Or not?
It probably doesn't cover the solar bench because that's over towards the playground.
Yeah.
And you've got all the trees between there and the CCTV camera halfway down towards the theatre.
I mean, if it would help, it would help. I think the CCTV needs to be requested for you to actually make that request so that we can see. Because not until we pinpoint exactly, which young people are doing this, and in what way you're going to find solution to this issue, and we have to make a conscious effort to try and protect our property.
Well, I hope that the work of the Antisocial Behaviour Working Group, with better partnership working with both the police and with Central Bedfordshire Council's Community Safety Team and CCTV, might well produce a result that gives us far better intelligence and information in the future.
I don't understand, but in the meantime, I think that we need to, yeah, thank you.
I just had a message from Councillor John Gurney, who said that if there are any matters that members wish to raise about central beds, then they should contact him, but no one has contacted him. That was in reference to my comment about central beds
The salt.
at item. Okay. Right, green space projects, Kathy. Thank you.
Good evening, members. So the Church Street phone box project is now complete. The official opening took place on the 1st of October and was hosted by the Town Mayor, Councillor Sally Kimondo. And everybody has been delighted with the project. And going forward, the Town Rangers will keep the area clean and tidy around the phone box, and Dunstable in Bloom volunteers will maintain the planters that sit either side of the phone box. And the 40th anniversary bulb planting has been taking place over the past few weeks. Officers from the council have partnered with local schools at the recreation grounds where we were planting the 40th anniversary bulbs. The children have really enjoyed taking part in this initiative, and as we speak we just have one site to complete, and that is at Olmer Road, and we'll be working with children from Queensbury and from Beecroft academies, and we'll complete planting on Wednesday. Once the bulb planting is complete, officers will post promotion about the 40th anniversary bulb planting on its social media platforms later this week. So for the 40th anniversary trees, so 40 trees for 40 years, a grant for just under £2,000 has been secured from the Tree Council. This has allowed officers to proceed with planting plans as detailed in the email that was sent to councillors earlier in the year. And a timetable has been sent to councillors today, just to confirm the dates and locations and the amount of trees that will be planted at each location in each of the 5 wards. And as well as councillors, then council staff and community groups will be invited to participate in the tree planting. The mayor will also be has also been invited to plant a tree at Ridgeway Avenue Recreation Ground in Dunstable East Ward to commemorate the 40th anniversary tree planting, and officers will organise a plaque and a ceremony to take place to mark the event. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions, colleagues? I assume the tree planting will be a bit more energetic than the bulb planting, although the bulb one did do some, I think that was probably Rotary on Saturday, and that was very efficiently done. So, Councillor Jones.
Should probably declare an interest that I am chair of Dunstable in Bloom, so that probably should be noted. I just wanted to say a huge well done to everybody involved in that bulb planting. I think our 10,000 bulbs that Dunstable in Bloom have planted in the last 3 weeks is nothing compared to the other 35,000, 37,000 bulbs that you guys have planted and supported with the schools. And I think everybody being involved should absolutely be pleased with themselves, and I can't wait to see the pop of colour everywhere that's going to be generated come the spring, hopefully. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Those sort of the extra places that have been where bulbs have been put on top of the ones that we've planted over the past few years should be a very good display. That was fine. And a couple of us at least were at the phone box event, and again just emphasising the community aspect to that. It's good to see that, and I'm sure there'll be other partners involved in various things as time goes on. Any other questions on that? Okay, Well, it's appropriate at this particular moment, at the end of this particular agenda item, to say that Mary is actually leaving us very soon for pastures new at the end of this week, I believe. So, Mary, I'd like to, on behalf of the committee, thank you very much indeed for all the work that you've done up at the cemetery. I think it's during your term that we got the green flag, and that's been retained in the years since we got that. The cemetery is always looking very good. And it's very appreciative of that. And I mentioned earlier about the community group as well, having that, I think you put that together or helped to put that together.
Yeah, part of a group of us that did it, yeah.
Indeed. So you leave us with a good legacy, I feel, and we wish you every success for where you are moving to.
I would just like to say thank you. Just to say that I have thoroughly enjoyed, I've been here 11 years in December. I've thoroughly enjoyed working for the council, and I thank John for the opportunity that he gave me 11 years ago and had faith in me. So I'd like to say thank you for that as well, and for all your support. Thank you.
Well, we've very much appreciated your support as well. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right. No one wanted to comment Appendix 1 or Appendix 2, so let's move on to budget proposals. Now, this is the first stab that we have as a committee to look at the proposals for the budget. There'll be another opportunity in January, and then, of course, the budget setting is in February. So if any members in a minute after, I'll ask Paul to outline what we have. If any members have any suggestions, any additions, deductions, or whatever, then this is, as I say, the first opportunity to have a look at it. Paul.
Thank you, Chair. So for those of you at communities, it's exactly the same format as it will be again for FGP next week. We've taken the budget you agreed in February when you agreed the 4-year budget, and we've gone through line by line detailed piece of work with officers and identified any necessary increases or savings we could make to carry on delivering services as they are. So the tables give you the number that was previously included in the 4-year budget back in February, and then any additional requirements which are in red, or any effective savings which are in the blue table, and then a brief explanation of them. Obviously, they're the highlight items. They're not line by line right through the budget. You have got the budget underneath, and any difference between what was set in February and what we're saying now is in red or green. The budget this year is predicated on, so RPI was 4.1% in September. We've put 3% across all budgets where we put an annual increase on, which is conservative. We've put a 4% increase on salaries. Just a reminder that for salaries, what we're doing is making the best guess we can as to what the national agreement will be. It's not what we think it should be, but what we don't want to do is under budget for salary and then have a shortfall in the year for that. We will take, obviously, answer any questions, take any comments, and redraft any bits that you're particularly interested in. Happy to have any discussions with individuals or groups of members between now and the next committee round to look into any particular items you're particularly interested in.
So, colleagues, are there any comments at this initial stage? Councillor Henson.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just wondered if you might be able to tell me, just to make sure I've interpreted the figures, what the overall impact is likely to be of the adjustments that you've described.
So based on the overall budget as presented to the 3 committees, at the moment it'd be a 12% increase this year, then down to 2.8% the following year on last year's budget.
So in absolute terms, is that significant? I mean, I'm just thinking about this particular budget because it will come to the General Purposes Committee next week, presumably along with
It
the other
will,
budget lines.
yes. In terms of this budget, I haven't got that figure exactly to
Okay.
hand on percentage. I don't think this budget is up to 12%.
So that we're likely to see that next week then.
Yeah.
Okay, right, thank you.
As you can see, there have been various sort of savings in R2 parts through, I think, vehicle fuel, for example, a rational way of purchasing fuel. I think vehicle maintenance, I think there's going to be something coming to our next meeting as far as vehicles are concerned, vehicle replacement is concerned. Salaries, we've already said, Paul's already alluded to. We always get the actual figure well after we've started trying to tackle the budget. But last year we managed to be on the right side, shall we say. Yes, Councillor Atwell.
Just a quick query on the vehicle fuel, 8,153 saving. How have we managed to do that? Is there, and also is there any impact there that's been switching to electric vehicles and things like that, or which seems to be quite a big amount?
It's largely about the manner in which we're purchasing it. So we very rarely purchase from the pump now. It is significantly better to purchase in bulk, which we can then use.
Great.
So we keep it in bunkered tanks. Bunted tanks, I beg your pardon. It's classed as bunkered fuel. And there's quite a considerable saving there to be had purchasing that way, and then we distribute it into our vehicles ourselves directly.
Right.
So that's a large part of the cost. Some of the cost might be associated with electric vehicles, but we don't have very many of them at the moment. But of course, that cost will come down, but then there'll be other costs with replacement vehicles.
With this year particularly, we have had some savings due to the weather, obviously through the summer being so dry, so that will have an impact on the amount of fuel we might potentially use within some equipment as well. So that can play a part in sort of season things.
It's impressive. It's just a dramatic amount. I was thinking, is that a mistake or is it that is a genuine saving? Wow, very good.
You Chair. Thank you, Chair. Not to question that you haven't considered it, but I was just thinking, while you make the savings, which I totally agree with, I'm just considering the issue of safety as you protect buying in bulk and keeping those fuel in containers, as you said, in terms of health and safety of doing that.
Yeah, do you want to answer that?
So I can answer that. So in regard to this health and safety of buying in bulk, we actually are in this coming week, I have getting them tanks inspected to make sure they are safe. And obviously that will be an annual thing for the tanks to be inspected and serviced to make sure the tanks are safe and doing what they're supposed to do. We do. And then that will provide us with also advice on anything we might need to do from remedial work to then tanks and their communication. So
okay. And in terms of where it's kept, all that, the liability of insurance and whatnot, God forbid nothing happens, but if we consider the overall liability.
So with a bunded fuel tank, what they're designed, they're double skinned. So if one skin breaks, the other one is actually big enough in order to hold any fuel.
Okay.
So that will mitigate any sort of leakage, potential leakage there might be. And obviously with the inspection, that obviously tells us the condition of the tank, so whether we need to do any remedial work to that as well.
Okay.
I'm looking at services, electricity particularly. There doesn't seem to be much change over the period that we're looking at. Allotments, for example, -3,000 sort of throughout. Cemetery -5 across the board. Gas across the board 2.2. Recreation grounds as well. That seems to be pretty static. Is that going to be realistic?
We're currently on a 3-year utility deal.
Hmm.
So we'll, in the year ahead, we're under the same deal and the same rates that we're currently under.
Okay, that's fine, because I think 2029-30, there's a slight difference, yeah. Okay, when we presumably start the new deal. Okay. Any other comments? Have we got fees and charges here? We haven't, have we?
No, that will come to the next committee.
Yeah, okay.
Could I just say, Chair, the thing the tables don't highlight, obviously, is where things from you agreed in February have stayed the same. So obviously this year, the year ahead, we're proposing to introduce £100,000 contribution to new cemetery development.
Yeah.
So we have got money in that in the past. We didn't last year because we took it up the set underspend from last year. So just to note that that is effectively an increase on the budget, and then that goes up in the years ahead as well. And unless members decide not to go ahead with the new cemetery, that's the minimum we need for the year ahead, I'd suggest.
Fine, well, I would urge colleagues to, oh, sorry, Matt, Councillor Brennan.
So waste disposal. Last year I asked about waste disposal because just in this budget alone for grounds, there is a separate line of waste disposal in every single spreadsheet that totals up to about £30,000, which is more than the, like in the overall at the end, it's like more than Town Ranger Service in like prospective budget. I'm guessing that that doesn't include the staff and vehicle costs of Town Ranger Service, which is weird because that's like the majority of what that is, right? Anyway, the point is waste disposal. I asked about it last year, and you said that that it's spread over the whole thing. So not only do we have multiple different waste disposal lines within this budget that all total up to like £30,000, it's also in other places as well. So it's also in community services. And you said that we were going to be looking at, we have separate operators for waste disposal, and we were looking at amalgamating them into one contract that would save us money. That doesn't seem to be represented here because there's an increase in costs in waste disposal in all of those lines. So I wondered, is that something that we're still doing? Is that still an accurate representation of what I see here in the spreadsheets? Discuss.
We reported on this previously.
I don't think we have. No, every service creates waste, and every service runs services that requires the council to collect waste. So, for example, in future, when Priory House is open, it will create waste. It will create food waste. It will create cardboard waste, dry recycling, and so on and so forth. General waste. The waste within grounds tends to be the waste that other people give us to throw away. So, from our litter bins. And then there's green waste disposal as well. So there are a number of different types of waste that we collect. There are a number of different collection arrangements. There's quite a significant amount of waste collected associated with running the burial service. Earlier on this year, the compliance manager set a procurement exercise, and that market was tested, and we have chosen a supplier to work with who collects our waste, and this budget should reflect those costs.
Yes, so which means that we have retendered. We are now working with a single supplier for our waste, but that did not achieve the saving that we hoped it would achieve because the market wasn't great in the responses we had.
Okay.
And happy to share a slightly more detailed conversation about how that contract's going. We're pretty better to do that in a confidential session at the end.
Okay, no, I accept that as an answer. Thank you. What about thinking about green waste? I know we don't have a lot of, like, we don't collect, for instance, grass cuttings. We leave them because I know it's better. I know that from Kathy because I listened to Kathy. She's very good. So, but other green waste and stuff, is there is there any way that we have, like, would would there be any possible like spend to save arrangements that we could work around with like recycling and green waste where we might be able to, we have allotments. That's what I'm thinking. We have allotments that really like manure and they like compost because they're allotments. So like it feasibly, could we look at the way, I know we've just done a procurement exercise for this and changed the supplier and stuff, but is there any possible savings that might be able to be made if we took some of the green waste stuff and some of the recycling and started some sort of system of composting within the ground somewhere that we could then maybe get to the allotments, maybe save us money. We might even be able to sell it to people, which is a stupid idea. Like I'm going really reaching, but I'm reaching because it's £30,000 in waste disposal.
I suspect the answer is going to be we could save money, but you might have to spend money to save it in the long term.
Yeah, spend to save. That's it.
Daniel or John?
Yeah. So there are a number of ways you can sort of recycle green waste, paper waste, sort of cardboard, all that kind of thing, and make it into compost. However, there is quite a large cost in regard to the setup of something along that lines.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways of recycling leaves, so we don't have to collect leaves, you know. But again, it's down to the level of cost. So you'd have a short term, there'd be a quite high cost involved. So you have to put a very long term plan in order to get the savings you're talking about, really. In the short term, it'd be more costly. In the longer term, it would be safe.
Because also at the same time, I'm sorry, Chair, please, if you'll indulge me, at the same time, who has complaints about leaves on the everywhere?
Yeah.
On the everywhere. Like leaves, because we don't pick them up because it's not part of the waste strategy in Central Bedfordshire Council. So like, I think this could be like a really beneficial thing. Not only that, but we want to look at carbon reduction. This could be helpful for offsetting our carbon. I know I'm now stepping on the toes of our carbon reduction like working group, but if anyone would care to support me in this, I think this might be a good idea that we could look into, that it might be a thing. I don't know, man. I'm looking at you guys because you're the smart people. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we'll ask the smart Mr. Crawley.
The other thing that you need to consider, members, is that when you begin to recycle waste, you attain a different level within the waste hierarchy with regard to the Environment Agency. The first thing you've got to have is sufficient land on which to dispose your waste and break it down, compost it, recycle it, and so on and so forth.
We got sorry.
We don't have a very large spare piece of land on which to do that at the moment. It would often be associated with a depot facility, and we've only got a very small limited depot facility at Creasy Park. So you would have to look into that. You've then got to have Environment Agency licensing for the waste. You've got to be able to contain the waste. You've got to be able to contain the runoff from the waste. So it has to be a bonded facility. There are opportunities, but I don't want to discuss them in open session at the moment, but I will have a conversation with you separately after the meeting.
Okay, cool.
About what might be possible in the future.
Good with this.
If that's okay.
Yes, that's perfect answer. Thank you very much.
Your comments are not wasted, Councillor.
It's an interesting.
Right, colleagues. Oh, sorry.
Okay, I was just going to say it's an interesting point. It's worth looking at. But whether or not this council can bear the cost is a different matter. So.
Okay, well, we've got a sort of action recommended here. We've had the opportunity to comment on the budget, draft budget proposals. As yet, there have been no suggested changes. We've raised one or two questions and answers have come back satisfactorily, I would add, since there were no further questions on that. So, colleagues, are we prepared
Chair, I would just, if you don't mind me, just putting a caveat on that statement, as in we are satisfied with the budget as it stands. I think, you know, we have to be careful not to say this is the end of it, because colleagues might still just need more time to digest, to walk through what could be the options that we could, you know, sort of discuss further, and so to conclude on this first meeting somewhat that we you know, because there was no response or for that question means we're satisfied would be a wrong thing to do. So I would caution on that.
Well, we'll say then, subject to further opportunities to comment on the budget, we are in general terms prepared to accept what has been put to us, but reserve the right to make further comment at further meetings. Okay? Are you happy with that sort of conclusion? Okay, thank you very much. Right, we move on to the next item about local green spaces. John and I did attend an online meeting about local green spaces. The presentation that was given to us and commented upon is included in the agenda, so I hope colleagues have digested what it is that we are looking for in green spaces, what the criteria are to recommend or suggest that we protect land. I would say that things like Priory Gardens already is protected, Brose Down is protected insofar as it's a triple SI, so those won't appear on that suggested list at the end. A lot of work will need to be done as far as anything that is put forward. As I understand it, we don't know whether Central Beds is going through any exercise with the land that it owns within our area, but this is an opportunity to look at what is suggested that goes forward as for protection, and the criteria which each particular area, what criteria it meets. So this is an opportunity then to discuss this, and at the end of the day, having reviewed that list in Appendix 2, we determine, if any, what we should put forward to Central Bedfordshire Council. John, do you want to add anything?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, you see that I've identified at 3.6 there that the summary of the assessment. So the assessment will be undertaken by Beds RCC, Green Infrastructure Team, and the Green Sands Trust officers as consultants for Central Bedfordshire Council. They've indicated though what the criteria will be, and those are based on what comes out of the local plan and those sections, paragraphs 106 and 107, that I've identified at 3.3 and 3.4. So the test really is that it's got to be reasonably close. Well, all of the sites that are in Dunstable are reasonably close to the community, because they're right slap bang in their community. So they would certainly meet that test. Demonstrably special is split into a number of additional criteria, or broken down into the criteria. So of particular beauty, i.e., you know, visual attractiveness. So somewhere like Grove House Gardens would sit very well with that. Historic significance. Obviously Priory Gardens would fit, Grove House Gardens would fit particularly, and probably Bennett's as well. But of course we're not actually including Priory Gardens in this list because it's protected, because it's a scheduled monument, so it doesn't need the extra layer of protection. Recreational value is one that hits a lot of ours. All of your sites are largely there as a result of the need for people to have access to local recreational facilities, including the allotments as well. And then you've got tranquility. So particularly the cemetery, I would suggest, would meet that one, as well as the richness for wildlife and so on and so forth. And then they've got to be local in character. They've got to be local to the area, slightly different from reasonably close. This is about it not being an extensive tract of land. And they've indicated, I think, something less than 10 hectares. So anything greater than 10 hectares would be an extensive tract of land, if I remember the criteria well enough. The timescales to move this forward and submit these sites is rather tight. We've got until the 28th of November. And at the moment, I'm working on the basis that if you've got 21 sites that need to be submitted with supporting information onto the online platform, bearing in mind you can't get past page 1 of the online platform until you've pressed submit. I reckon each one's going to take at least an hour. So there's 21 hours worth of work to be done there. So it's quite an undertaking. And that's why we're suggesting that you focus on the sites that you own rather than other people's land. You could include other people's land if you wish to do so. But what I don't know about other people's land, I don't know. And we don't collect information about other people's land in the way that we know our own very well. So it should be relatively straightforward, but quite time consuming to do the 21 sites that are on the list, taking out Priory Gardens because it doesn't need the level of protection. I don't think I've got anything else to add beyond that, other than to ask you to consider whether that is the list that you'd like me to work on.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. I assume that people have managed to read the presentation that we attended, and consequently you can read the criteria into the chart at the end. Councillor Brennan and Councillor Jones.
Okay, so I want to say a couple of things. One is, so this, as I understand it, as part of the local plan process at CVC, this is our opportunity to save any piece of land that might go within a call for sites. So meaning that, I mean, it is in the, like anything that might be in the call for sites. So let's say the call for sites is being like land that they designate for building, and they can say, this is this bit of land, you can build here and there's going to be X many houses. So by designating land here, tell me if I'm wrong, this, as it says in here, affords it the like green belt protections. So for that reason, I see this as our last opportunity, because I think when I look at places like where the health hub is, and I see stuff like that, I think that's, if we'd have had this designation on the land behind Gold Bowling, I don't think they'd have been able to put those allotments, those apartments with the health hub. I think there would have been a lot stronger restrictions on them. I'd probably be wrong, but that's my feeling, right? You can call me wrong, I don't know, but that's my feeling. Yeah. There are a couple of sites in Dunstable North. I would say, like, I would suggest that maybe the building, the area, what was the old ambulance site, which like not Dunstable North, but the ambulance site next to the college. I think that would be, even though it's owned by CBC, I think that would be really important, because it's right in the middle of town. I know it's right next to a park, and it's right next to a park that we're going to be putting on the list, but I'd say if anyone from that ward wanted to suggest a piece of land, that would probably be a really good one.
I think
It's already been passed.
Yeah, I wouldn't care. I would still put it, like, I still think we can put it on the list.
Too late, I think, wouldn't it? Well, yes, would it meet the criteria anyway?
I think so. I mean,
It's not a green line.
it's like, it needs to meet one or more of the following criteria. It
It's
is,
not
it is,
Not
there,
history.
I mean, there's green area there, you know, there's recreational value. It's tranquil. We literally wanted to turn it into that lady wanted to turn it into a forest school, like, because it was right there and could be a tranquil area. Anyway, like if you suggest it's by the road so it's not tranquil, I would argue the other side of that road is this park. So, like,
Well, if you want to put that forward as a suggestion, but I think because there's a planning application that's already been approved,
sure.
I think it would be probably too late. Would you like, yes, if you can just
Yeah,
clarify that, and I'll come to
I-
councillor Jones and councillor Atwell.
When we attended the presentation, it was made quite clear to us that we were identifying sites which are currently green spaces. The ambulance site is not a green space. It's a derelict piece of land which used to have a building on it. This is not an opportunity to identify land for which you want to provide green space in the future. It's about protecting existing green spaces that meet the criteria that are detailed within both the PowerPoint presentation and my report. And it doesn't meet any of those criteria. It would be virtually impossible for me to submit any information
Can
on the online portal. So the exercise is about protecting existing green spaces, not about creating new ones. That's my understanding of it.
That's a precursor even to my thoughts on that with the planning application. It wouldn't even stand.
So can anyone submit stuff, or is it only town councils? Is it only town and parish councils that can submit to this thing? It said in there that you have to submit them by the online portal. Is there, can I submit things, or can it only be you guys?
Well, if you,
Like, is this the only opportunity for anyone in the town who has this opinion?
We'll do other consultation to local resident.
Yeah, consult.
Owner.
Sorry, I'm talking over again. I'm getting excited. Like, consultations, in my opinion, are worth as much as the paper that they are printed on, and we're a paperless council.
I think as far as individuals making any submission in any event, they'd have to know the history of the place and have to get a lot of information, as you say, through the portal. But I think doing it through the town council and through the grounds and environmental services is the right way of doing it.
Just going back in the presentation, it says that they're inviting us to submit land by 28th of November. They will then assess all the land that's submitted against the criteria in the national framework, and they will then publish the sites that they've identified as local green spaces, if they think they meet the criteria, to provide the opportunity for comments from residents and landowners, which will be summer 26. And just the other comment to note is that where parishes have a neighbourhood plan, they're basically saying what's in the neighbourhood plan, we'll just push that straight through. But if you're a town without a neighbourhood plan, this is your opportunity in lieu of a neighbourhood plan for the town or parish council to put forward green spaces at an earlier stage than residents would be able to.
Okay.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. On this list, there's a couple of sites that CBC own and we lease. How long are those leases for? Is it at a point of them being able to say we're not going to release them to you? So we've got Downs Road Recreation Ground. Is it the skate park? Go bowling.
I believe the skate park was on a 25-year lease from when we put it in about 10 years ago. There'd be about 15 years to run on that one. And the Downs Road lease ran out in March, and we're currently negotiating with Central Bedfordshire Council to renew that lease for, I think it's 7 years from memory. 7 years. I haven't got the detail right to hand at the moment.
And they're generally positive about us renewing the lease. The
Yeah.
negotiations on detail, not on the principle of renewing the lease.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Atwell.
Yeah, just to clarify here, are we talking about just land that we own or CBC? Because if it's land that we own, then surely CBC can't just build on something that we own. I don't.
So this is
confusing.
this is about planning in principle. So kind of works regardless of who owns the land at any given point. So actually the planning process is around what is required and what's available. They may take account of what's realistic at some point. Now you could argue that where we own land or lease it, the process is irrelevant because we own it.
That's what I can't get.
Allow anyone to build it on.
Yeah, but
All kinds of things can happen in the future.
Right.
Councils can have all kinds of powers. CBC could suddenly use a power to buy a bit of land to build on a bit of land. Who knows what the future holds?
Right, this
So
potentially.
we should do, given how important we think green space are, we should do everything.
Okay, yes, no, I just needed that sort of clarified because I wasn't quite getting that. And also the other point I was going to make is based on what's been said, should we consider what's going to go up in the next agenda item about the busway pocket park? Does that not to be on, need to be on the list as well? Seeing it needs to, by the time it gets to approval stage, it will be part of something that we're putting a lot of money into a project.
Yes. Probably a fair point. We could add that
Yeah.
one to the list, make it 22.
Yes, Councillor Henderson.
Yeah, thank you. I asked this question earlier, so I just thought it'd be helpful for those in Dunstable North in particular. I asked about the green lanes, and your answer to my question about that was it's in Houghton Regis Parish Council. Is that right?
It was the area of land above Creasy Park, I think that you were referring to, which is the cutting that takes you to Maidenbower. Maidenbower proper, as in the historic site.
Helpful.
And Hillfort, that's correct. And the land there, my understanding, is in the parish of Houghton Regis. So we're only looking at land within our parish boundary.
It's obviously an important area of
Yeah.
beauty and so on and so forth, but it's taken care of hopefully by Houghton Regis Parish Council.
Yeah.
So
The bit of green lanes that runs from the bottom of the Downs and West Street
Behind Spinney Crescent.
behind Spinney Crescent going out is not land that we own. We're currently focusing on land that we own. That, I think a large chunk of that belongs to Central Bedfordshire Council.
Yeah.
What we don't know is whether or not Central Bedfordshire Council are also submitting land that they own into this process. So I have said to the chair and the vice chair that I would try and find that out in the next week to 10 days to see if I can understand that a bit more.
Councillor Tamara.
yeah, thanks, Chair. I was just gonna say, I think we're sort of in the right direction in terms of protecting what we believe, is relevant to this council. Rather than overstretching yourself, looking at your neighbor's land or, lands owned by somebody else. And sometimes I know there's this idea that we don't want any more building, but I don't always think it's the right approach. Because the reality is your children are going to grow up. We need to build more houses. And these are some of the things that in the long run, we're going to have to deal with. So in that sense, I think this is a fantastic idea. Protect what we believe, we own and we need to protect. And I think in that is the right direction to go.
Okay. Well, do I gather then, looking at the recommendation, that we are happy with the ones in green? We're not looking at Staveley Road, Bunhill Close or Willoughby Close, but we could potentially add on the pocket park
Yes.
suggestion by the busway.
Yeah.
Our colleagues happy to recommend those 22, I think it is, matters.
Yes.
yes.
Okay. You have your steer on that one.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Right, we're moving on to the busway pocket park design brief. There's quite a lot of work that has to go on. We need to know what it is we're dealing with as far as the piece of land is concerned. And there's quite a lot of preparation work to do. And at the end of the day, we're asked if we can approve the working brief that's down there in Appendix 2. I think, Kathy, this is yours.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So as the Chair mentioned, this is to seek your approval for the working brief that's detailed in Appendix 2. As you know, it is listed as an objective in the Town Council's corporate plan to acquire the land adjacent to College Drive to create a pocket park at that location. Officers are currently in discussion with Luton Borough Council, who currently own the land. So pending that transaction, officers have created a working brief and seek members' approval for that brief. I won't go into all of the detail of it, but I'm happy to take any questions because there is quite a lot of detail.
Okay, so if we concentrate then on perhaps Appendix 2, where the detailed information is, which sets out that project brief. Are there any comments that colleagues wish to make? Councillor Tamara.
Thank you, Chair. Can we clarify that this, in terms of the deed and changeover of the land, is actually been done already, and there's a confirmation of that?
So it hasn't been completed. We're
Okay.
waiting on solicitors from Luton Borough Council, but it's been agreed in principle.
So my question is, if the deed is not sealed, meaning you have a charge over the land, would it be reasonable to send a surveyor down there until you have that seal of approval, that confirmation?
We wouldn't do anything of substance on the ground itself, but we could start tendering processes and putting detailed plans in place ready to go.
Okay, so would you pay a surveyor £3,000 while you don't have those documents in hand?
Probably not.
Okay, just to clarify that, I would object to the idea of paying a surveyor any money until we have the contract signed by the solicitor from Luton Borough Council, that land is transferred to this council before any money is spent.
I think if I've heard Paul, you're not embarking on spending any of the money, you're embarking on the procurement process to find a supplier that could do the work. Is that
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
We're just moving ahead on with a positive look to the fact that it will be concluded, Luton Borough Council. And then when it is concluded, we've actually done some groundwork.
Absolutely.
Groundwork, I say that very carefully.
Yes.
Okay, John.
Just one other thing that we'll have to take account of on the financial side of things is the pot currently stands at £20,000, of which 10 is, looking at Kathy,
Yeah.
is from the joint committee. So we'd have to get approval from the joint committee to roll that forward into the new financial year. So there is a balance to be had between spending money in preparation whilst at the same time making sure that we don't spend significant amount of money when we haven't signed the documentation.
Yeah.
I came in on that later. I think I've understood that correctly.
Well, we have the chairman of the joint committee here.
I apologise.
That's all right. In terms of the next joint committee meeting,
Yes,
might there be a decision
Well,
on the amount of the funding.
on funding? Yeah.
no, I think the joint committee's agreed the funding.
It's agreed the
The issue would arise if the work wasn't possible to be completed by the end of March. We'd have to go back to the joint committee
Oh, I
for
see.
permission
Yeah.
to take longer to spend the money than we were originally given,
Okay.
which I would imagine would be forthcoming.
Okay. So there's some certainty there, so long as we do something before March. Okay. Councillor Jones.
In the big scheme of everything that we're doing, £20,000 doesn't seem a lot to sort that piece of area round out. Are we confident that we can do it for £20,000? Or is this going to be a project that then becomes more expensive as we go? And with the current financial times, are we better off just keeping it as a piece of land that's tidy and waiting and seeing? I don't know. I just feel that £20,000 isn't a lot of money for that large area, because it's a much bigger area than I envisaged it to be. And I just think £20,000 is not going to go far when you start taking out.
You have a breakdown.
But you know, £1,500 for a knee rail, that's not a lot when you start thinking about the size of it. And there's just other bits and pieces. I'm just worried that £20,000 not going to be enough money. We get halfway through the project.
I assume it would be done bit by bit. I mean, obviously the site surveys would be the first thing, but then whether or not one puts hard landscaping and paths in, I mean, that's 5,000. Whether you really want park furniture, etc., that's
You
3,500.
have a breakdown there.
But the others bit about landscaping, trees, hedges, and so on, and site clearance is well short of the £20,000.
I think, Chair, I think it would be true to say that it's an early cost estimate, and we are trying to fit the brief to the budget, not the other way around. And whilst it's an extensive piece of land, we may only have sufficient to focus on the very front area, fronting directly onto the junction and the busway, whilst the rest may have to kind of take a back seat for a later date if possible. It is a very tight budget, indeed.
Yeah.
So we and that test will come when we start to talk to contractors and suppliers about the estimates that we've currently got some figures against to just test those. So that budget in that brief is a flavour and indication of what we think might be possible with £20,000. It isn't guaranteed that we can do it for £20,000.
That's tomorrow.
I just, John, I wonder if you can chip in, just thinking about, is there any bit of this work that the town rangers can do or no?
There's quite a lot, Chair, that we could look to do within our own in-house grounds team, which reduces costs. It takes out the labour element, because you're already paying for the labour element already, because we currently employ those people. That would be one way to manage down cost, but that puts a pressure then on the staff that are delivering all the ground services that they deliver. It's not impossible. We've done it in the past. We could look to try and do it again.
Think so.
Yeah, and it would be the whole of the grounds team as opposed to just the town rangers. It would be a grounds team activity,
Yeah,
as opposed to a town ranger activity.
I think that would be a good idea.
Okay. Well, are we happy, subject to, I mean, obviously what we've said and the caveats we've had or mentioned? Are we okay with that brief in general terms then, that we can proceed? I mean, clearly it's proceeding with care and it's costing it with it carefully, and it's deciding what we might be able to do within that sum. Okay. Okay, thank you. That's the steer on that one.
Thank you.
Right, the next item is the new cemetery outline project brief, and we're asked here to, if we are able to approve the outline brief again in Appendix 1. So John, this is you again.
Thank you, Chair. Just to remind members, we are heading quite quickly now into a procurement exercise to procure specialist consultants to help us move forward with looking at how we might develop the land, which we've already identified and for which we've had groundwater risk assessments and Environment Agency indications on. As part of that procurement exercise, I'm of the view that we should include within that an indication of what it is Dunstable Town Council is seeking to achieve on that land. I can write the 6 stages of the Royal Institute of British Architects development programme for a piece of land of this nature into the project, into the consultation and the various elements that go in each of those 6 stages. But what we need to do is to provide the consultants with an understanding of what it is, exactly what we want them to do, and more importantly, exactly what it is we as a council, you as a council, are trying to achieve with that land. Now, this outline brief is aspirational. Big emphasis on the word outline. It's not a full project brief. It's an outline brief of the sorts of things that we've discussed both around this table and in the working group previously and at some of the site visits that we did. And if you have a look at the brief, which is the appendix 1 there, you will see that I've given some detail as to the objectives. So the objectives are there. The scope of work, which largely outlines what we would want from specialist consultants, but more importantly, some of the key points, some of the key outcomes that you would like to see on any new cemetery land. So the type of burial plots, access, memorial gardens, the various built facilities that you might wish to aspire to achieve, the utilities, lighting and security, sustainable design, energy saving and so on and so forth. It's just to give the consultants a steer as to the sort of skills and expertise that they must bring to the table in order for us to appoint them. It's part of a wider process of the procurement of those consultants. But I need to be certain that you're comfortable that those are the sorts of aspirations that you have for the development of a new cemetery, based on the discussions that we've had with the working group and, as I say, around this table as well. I'm happy to try and answer.
Specialists within this field that would undertake this sort of work as a whole.
There aren't many. There aren't many, but they do exist. Yes.
Okay, colleagues. Then you've got the brief in front of you to aid potential developers of this business. Any comments? Any additions that one might think? Objectives or any other matters? Councillor Atwell.
I just wanted to ask John, because obviously this is extremely high level and I get that it's the first time, but would anyone be able to pick up on this, be able to create something from that, because it is so high level? Does it not need to have a lot more granularity and detail?
There's a great more detail in the document that they're actually required to price.
Right.
So it talks about, for example, pre-application advice with the planning department and so on and so forth. So the two documents, this brief and the more detailed document for pricing as part of the procurement process, sets out the exact requirements within each of the 6 riper stages of development, taking you through from concept design right through to actually achieving on the ground. Now, the first 3 stages are what you will get detailed prices for. The next 3 stages come after you've secured planning consent, and therefore we'll get cost estimates to compare one against the other. So one will be a fixed price item, the other half of that exercise will be cost estimates, so we can compare cost estimates on a like-for-like basis. So yes, there is a great deal more detail to go into
It's certainly a development that we've been looking at. I think about 2 councils ago we were looking at potential additional cemetery land, and we're now getting to a stage where we're not quite there, but this is an essential step.
I'm just going to say, I noted that obviously the bullet point says to produce a JCT tender pack, contract documents and so on. So I expect all the detail is in there. So I can't comment on the technical detail. You've got to project manage full site implementation and so on. In terms of any consultation with the public, is that something that's outside the scope and would be for the town council itself, or should this be part of the tender?
Yes, and there'll also be a consultation, obviously, through the planning application as well.
Okay, thank you.
And also subsequent, before we make any public work local application, we have to evidence really good public consultation.
Okay, thanks.
Can I just add, members, this is an outline brief to give guidance to the sort of things you might want to aspire to achieving. That's not the same as you saying we are definitely going to have a chapel. or we're definitely going to have a depot, or
Mm.
we're definitely going with this. It's a very aspirational top level stage, because those are decisions that you will need to make further down the line
Right.
based on what it's likely to cost.
Isn't the first point is to acquire the kind of land, the kind of space that we need, and how vast we want this land to be, and whether or not is right to be considered as a burial site? Isn't that the first thing that we need to, which I believe we've already done? Is that, oh, we're still,
We've done the soil tests.
So we've identified the piece of land.
Right.
We've got to the point where we've done tests which say it can be used. We've had initial conversations with CBC about buying the land, an initial conversation about the kind of price and how they would price it. And we're now in the process of trying to push that to actually get to the point of purchase.
Right.
So we want to purchase the land as quickly as we can, because for lots of reasons, better to do that. And even if we got to the point where we'd purchased the land and then decided it wasn't possible to build a cemetery on it straight away, worst case scenario, the town council now owns that piece of land. And it may well be appropriate for interim allotment land if it couldn't be used for anything else or for other green space type purposes. Given the numbers involved, maybe that's a confidential subject we would need to discuss.
yeah,
I would suggest we move forward on that basis.
okay. I think this is a discussion for outside of this meeting, because I do have some point, but it might sound a bit not appropriate for now. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, is it appropriate to agree now that when we move to confidential session, we return to that point of the agenda to cover that off?
No, we can, no, that's fine. So it's still fine.
We can always have a conversation.
Yes, I can have a conversation.
So, yeah. So colleagues, now we have, Councillor Brennan.
So just if I could just have, I have a couple of questions. Probably a similar rudimentary level of questioning, probably going to be very annoying. But so originally, a few years ago, we were told like space is running out in the cemetery. We need to sort out a new cemetery. We need to do it really quick because look at Houghton Regis. So timelines, agreeing this and going forward, how is the timeline, like the projected timeline, how tight is it? Are we confident that we're going to be able to do all this stuff, consult with the public, start burying people in that piece of land? Is that going to work? And is everything going to be okay? Or are we going to have people that aren't going to be able to be buried in Dunstable? Like, how is our timeline?
We have a realistic timeline. We couldn't make any promises because to some extent this is predicated on how long some other processes take. And in terms of demand on burials in the cemetery, that does go up and down. So there are a number of unknowns in there, but on a realistic estimate, we will probably be okay.
Okay, that's pretty good. Thanks. So then the other thing is, would it make sense to, I'm a little worried with like, we're probably going to be okay. Not that there's anything wrong with, we're probably going to be okay, because you can't say anything any better, obviously. I'm worried of the possibility of this goes out, we get back a design brief from a company of a building whatever and a cemetery, and then everyone goes, that looks absolutely horrible, I do not like that, this is terrible, what are we doing? So is there any way we can mitigate for that with maybe having the chair communicating directly, and I don't know, a way that there's a communication between the, like a line of communication between the the council and these people. I mean, obviously that's you guys. I'm just, okay, so if I,
So do you mean between us and possible consultants?
yeah, so like what I'm worried of, I'll give you the scenario as I just said it. They design it, they bring it to us, we say it's crap, it goes back and they have to design it again, and that's a delay. That would be a delay. Like, it's crap, go back and do it again is a delay, and that's not helpful or conducive to we're probably going to be okay. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I have to go, John, then you give it to me. The really process has those stages in of initial design backwards and forward, further design backwards and forwards. The consultants, of whom there aren't many, we would look at asking to tender, are very experienced in cemeteries, and there aren't as many choices as you think. So there is the process is designed to enable that gradual design process, which is done consensually based on what is realistic and possible on the site. And it's as much about what's realistic and possible on the site and within the planning context we're in. So with the right consultant, the timescale is viable given all those concerns about backwards and forwards in design. Is that fair, John?
Yeah, and one of the first tasks that we would do with the consultants is to sit down and work out that critical path, work out what the risks are, and that might be one of them, that you don't like the design. So in order to mitigate that risk, there's got to be a process by which they don't design twice or 3 times or 4 times. They fulfill a basic design, and then there's an opportunity to tweak that design rather than going off in a completely different direction. So, you know, the first thing is to come up with that time plan, that critical path about the necessary decisions, and work that into the decision-making processes for this organisation. And if you pick the right consultants, they will have experience of working with people who provide cemeteries, which is largely towns and parishes and local authorities. So they'll understand it. But it's about designing and putting all of that into that critical path, into that proper time-bound plan. And that's why it's important to pick the right consultants.
Can I, one final thing? Can we put in the project title the word traditional, please? Like development of a new cemetery facility, a traditional, sustainable and respectful resting place. Just because traditional is everywhere else. Incorporate traditional burial methods, traditional new sustainable memorialization options. I think like it would be good to have it first and foremost in the thing, like traditional, but like it's a minor thing, but I think it would be good to have it in the project title so that it's there on the forefront. Traditional.
I don't know. I think trouble is with traditional, it's a bit subjective. So I've seen some of the really new cemeteries, I think, that I've experienced that are towards Milton Keynes and Woburn Sands, and they look pretty impressive, but I wouldn't call them traditional. But
okay, I'm open. Like,
My advice,
Nick, no?
I think my advice, Chair, would be to leave it open, because the reason why we're looking to bring specialists in is because they will bring something new. And I think if we get stuck on the word traditional, you have to have traditional in terms of there being probably a public expectation that some part of that burial ground will have traditional burial methods in.
Sure.
But there's equally an opportunity to bring in something a bit fresh, a bit different, a bit new, and it'll be those consultants that know that. So I wouldn't put it in the title, but I would have it in the body of the documentation. That would be my advice.
Place in Flitwick.
I haven't yet. I've been told to go and see it. Like, the new cemetery, the new cemetery.
Yeah. That is, I wouldn't say that's traditional, but it's certainly makes a positive impact. That's
that's the one that we visited, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
we did
on the list.
Yeah, that was impressive.
I suggest you add some.
I might have missed this. Where are we at with the actual acquiring of the land? Because we're going to the next stage, but actually, have we actually secured the use of the land yet?
So No. But we've had an informal conversation, TBC, which was very positive about the way they would price the land and an approximate number that would come to, and their willingness to sell it to us. And John is currently pursuing actually purchasing the land.
So, Chair, can I just come back for 1 second? Okay, so at this point, so my concern is not about the design of it, but it's whether or not it is fact that you can actually use that land as a burial site. And the notion and the idea that if we're going to buy it anyway, or if it doesn't work, we own the land anyway, that would not wash for taxpayers' money. And I think it's a terrible idea to buy land for what if, but if it doesn't, we just got the land anyway. We need to know, now you can have contract in place where you can test it, ensure that this is credible for a burial site before you sign anything over. Because that is the proper way to do it. If not, you're buying on an if.
So we've done the work with the Environment Agency to borehole and test the land. So we've got in writing from the Environment Agency, we are allowed to use it as burial land. So we've done all that work.
Right. So that is, I think, first and foremost, if you would have said at the beginning of this meeting, I think the land is proper for burial sites.
I think I said earlier that the ground testing had been done.
Yeah, you did.
Right. Okay. And so I think I missed that. So I do apologize if I didn't miss that. But
Okay.
Bob.
No, we're going.
So, sorry, let me just say this. Maybe this is why I missed it. Paul did say, if it doesn't work, at least we're on the land. That seemed worrying to me that, there's an if or but when you're talking about acquiring a land for a certain reason, but there's a if or but, if it doesn't work, we can just use it for something else. That is my issue with,
Yeah, well, the first step has been taken, and obviously if that had failed, then we wouldn't be pursuing it.
Okay.
Really,
So we know we can use the land.
We have got it in writing that we
And it's proper to chase the buying.
its use. Okay, well, we have to seek then it's wished that we have member approval for the outline project brief, which will go into or be included within the procurement pack, specialist consultants. Are we happy with that now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. The next item is wherever it is. It's the Kingsbury site, but the plans, etc., commentary was actually in this particular agenda item. I'm just trying to trawl down, find where trawl down fairway. Here we are. Right, it's on page 83. Kingsbury Recreation Ground Management Plan. Now, as colleagues know, we're looking at all our recreation grounds and we're drawing up management plans. This is indeed the first one, although we have also looked at Brewers Hill, but that will be coming before us in February. So if we can approve this, then that's a sort of a basis for the way in which the other 10 or 11 plans will be made. Yes, Councillor Atwell.
Sorry, I just wanted to query here because I thought that it's a long time ago now, and I am happy that obviously we come through and eventually got the first plans out. But I thought we'd originally said some time ago that one of the recreation grounds in the north was one of the ones to look at first, seeing that the Kingsbury had the money spent on the playground equipment and the Mooger and things. Wasn't it one in the north that was being looked at?
Yeah, Brewers Hill, we had the meeting.
Yeah, we've had the meeting for Brewers Hill.
But we haven't approved an actual full plan for it though, have we?
No, this one was looked at first.
Right,
The plan is as sort of laid out.
right,
But this will be followed in other plans,
right,
but it just happens that this one came first.
right. Okay.
So
But Brewers Hill will be in February, and then we'll do another 3 next year.
Right, okay.
just to clarify, the first year was Brewers Hill Recreation Ground, Kingsbury Recreation Ground and Downs Road Recreation Ground.
Yeah.
We've managed to pursue 2 of those 3 with the third one to follow, but this is the first one to come to committee. And as the chair said, if you are minded to agree the layout and the type of content, it'll give us a blueprint for moving forward.
Right.
But the actual plan is there at Appendix 2. This is the content, and I've tried to make it fairly interesting to view. What we would do is to get our communications officer to work on creating a style for this, so that it was much more a much more friendly document, much better laid out, with a few more graphics and probably a few more pictures as well. So just to set the scene, the management plan outline was taken to the working group for Brewers Hill Recreation Ground and Kingsbury Recreation Ground, and the same will happen for Downs Road. And the various sections that we've set out here, so the introduction, a little bit about the council, the site description with the maps, a statement on access, ownership and the key features, the historical content, the maintenance, the current community uses, the consultation summary to date, and then the actual plan itself, the improvement plan itself. Those sections were all agreed by the working groups. And this is a simplified, very much simplified version of what we do for the green flag sites, because you will remember, members, that we agreed that we would do this on the principle of the green flag criteria. And the 4 green flag criteria that fit very well here, and for all the sites, will be that each of the recreation grounds is a welcoming place. It's a healthy, safe and secure place. It's in a place of environmental sustainability, and it's a place where the community can be involved. Those are 4 of the 7 or 8 green flag criteria on which we're judged for our green flag sites. And then you'll see at the end there's an allotment statement, and there's a short statement about monitoring and review. So this committee would keep each of these plans under constant review, and when they're all written, we may have to do we may have to have an exercise with committee where we inform you and update you on where we're at with each of the actions in one big hit, because doing these individually would be quite a task and an undertaking. And then the items that are contained within the improvement plan section from item 7 onwards are the things that each working group have discussed and agreed that they would like to see in the improvement plan when the first iteration of the plan and the document, based on their own observations, the observations of staff and the observations that were obtained through the consultation exercise. And we've learnt a lot in that first consultation exercise, and things that we would do slightly differently in subsequent consultation exercises. So it's really there for comment and or obviously approval.
So, colleagues,
Just
Yes.
to add, we were part of the first working group, which was quite positive because we looked at everything and we had feedback from our residents. So this has incorporated the consultation ourselves, the councillors within the wards who attended, and the process, which was quite positive.
thank you. Okay, Councillor Brennan.
Couple of things. One, at the bottom of every page, the footer is a bit weird.
But with the formatting, we will solve. What it's the text we want you to
Okay.
and agree with.
Yeah, I thought that might be the case.
In better format once you're happy with that.
So I'm also interested in that access. The recreation ground benefits from excellent access arrangements by foot. 2 additional pedestrian access points from Jeansway and alleyway situated. So I'd just like to make the point that would be a really good park for having events. You could have events in that park, couldn't you? And it would be really good. You could put events in there. There's excellent access arrangements by foot. So access and egress, I would say, is actually really good in this park. I've been there. So you could have events there. It's got a car park and everything.
The car park is limited, that's what we.
Yeah, but parking issues are one of the biggest
Yeah,
problems.
that's one of the issues that the residents tend to complain about, unfortunately.
In general terms,
I accept that.
there are events in different parks, aren't there? Because Bennett's has some
Not enough.
events and so on, and
If you have a look at item,
You get 10 cars in the car park.
You've got 2 residents of Jeansway in the room.
Yeah, it's fine.
if you have a look at item 12
I
members,
think you'd want events in your park.
if you have a look at item 12 members under the improvement plan, you will see that one of the things that members have asked through the workshop work is to improve the use of the recreation ground for events, including Love Parks Week. But we need to establish that. It needs to be very local events. It's not the place for party in the park
Yeah,
type of event or Dunstable Live.
yes.
Those venues are, the venues we've got already are well suited to that.
and also I would suggest that if you can get a friends group going, they would possibly make some suggestions for a local event.
Yes, Kristen.
Yeah, I also think
Where people
But-
come on foot.
you made that point in the working group. I think there could be, like, people don't know that they can use the parks for events. I don't think. I pointed this out at the Beecroft Community Association the other week, and people didn't know. And I don't think people know enough that they can use the parks for an event if they ask.
Can you clarify that they need to have a license to do that?
I get about 20 applications a year for use of your open spaces from community events, mostly charities and or communities, not for profit activities. We have an application process. They have to submit an application, they have to submit their public liability insurance, their risk management arrangements, their safeguarding policies and so on and so forth. And we take each individual one on its merits.
But this,
There is a
doing,
process that exists.
doing this will hopefully help to inform the community.
Okay. Sure.
Chair,
Yes,
I just have one comment, which I believe I did make when we had our consultation time with John. I think it will come down to when the implementation, this is a consultation period, and we get all that work done, put it in the plan. And then when it comes to the implementation, in terms of the improvement work, I do think we need to zoom in on the areas that actually do need help in terms of the worst to the parts that actually do need repair quicker, urgently, the ones that are really bad, rather than picking on a park that look reasonable against the ones that are really not properly maintained or in a good state, and we've left that to totally repair or change the equipment in a park that seems reasonable in good stead. And I think when it comes to that point, we have to go back to the drawing board to decide which of this park should go first based on the merits of what the conditions are at that point. That's the only point I think we need to consider when it comes to doing the work.
I thought we'd prioritise this in
It's not been done.
last year or the year before. I thought we'd prioritise.
If that's the case.
We've prioritised the order in which we're
Yeah.
preparing the plans.
And that's
Absolutely.
the plan.
We agreed the
Yeah.
3 we're doing this year, the 3 we're doing next
Yeah.
year, and then
That's the plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
So obviously, where there are items that the management plans then recommend, which require budget that's not in John's core budgets, we will then come back to you and say, right, members, you've got a plan that wants us to spend this much here and this much here, this much here. And then we'll bring that to you in some form, saying, members, we want to spend it, you want to spend this much money, we haven't got it. And then we'll have that discussion about, now it may be that we end up in 2 or 3 years with exactly that conversation. What's our priority and what's our list? But until we've been through the process, it's kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'm not saying is a work for now, but I think that in terms of looking at the priority of which park should be repaired first, I think that fundamentally, if you don't go in that direction, what you're doing is living in an area that actually do need help right now, and living it exactly the way he is, and then taking something that's something a medium good and totally refiguring that while you have young people that could not use a park that is down their road. I think that would be the wrong way to go about it.
Okay, point made. Okay. The recommendation, having discussed the management plan and considered any amendments, etc., can we approve the way forward, approve the adoption of this 4-year management plan for Kingsbury?
Sorry, Chair.
Sorry, okay, Sandra, I do apologise.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to ask the amount. I understand obviously this is a first one and it's a bit of a trialling session and things like that, but just a little bit concerned that obviously we're taking a lot of decisions here based on just 27 responses. You know, is there a plan going forward to make sure that we can get this populated out and on social media or whatever? I agree that this is obviously a first time, but going forward for the other parks and recreation, we need a lot more than 27 people responding to get an accurate reflection of a cross section of the community. So is there any way we can promote that better on social media, or to however it may be, or leaflets through local doors, or quite what, to be able to get, because obviously this is an important part of the process to make sure we get the buy-in from everything in the first place.
I think, Chair, we learned something from the first consultation exercise. We learned how we could improve it, and I hope that when we do the next set of consultation for the next 3, that we can get a far bigger reach and a far bigger, a better statistical number of people obtaining that. And I think probably this time we largely did it on Facebook, but I think we in the future we need to think about how we might be able to reach people very locally.
Okay.
But that may have kind of resource implications in terms of staff time. We'll have to consider that. But I think it's a fair point to make it.
Yeah, Councillor John Gurney has his hand up. John, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I was taken up on the point of voting what we're doing regarding plan for Kingsbury Park. I have mentioned in Facebook posts and shared to the East Dunstable Facebook group that this meeting would be taking place tonight. They would be discussing the plan for Kingsbury Park, and suggested to members of the public to attend the meeting either online or in person, or put forward questions. I've had one resident contact me regarding the issue of car parking, and I suggest they attend this meeting. So, and we also held a public meeting last Friday, me and Kenson, and nobody mentioned it at all. Nobody mentioned nobody brought up any questions about the park at all. So there have been attempts to engage with the residents in the ward regarding it, and I hope that if a plan is approved, we may be able to get a Friends of the Park group going in order to get more input.
Okay, well, thank you for doing that. I'm sure that we, as we said, have learned from the first set of consultations that we can look at other ways of doing it. Obviously, ward members have a role to play. when it comes to an area in their own ward.
Yeah.
Right, can we now go to discuss the approval for the adoption of the 4-year management plan? Are members happy with this?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. That's your steer on that one.
Thank you.
Right, we now go into, well, suggest we go into closed session. So do I have a proposal that, given the rest of the agenda, should be held in camera?
Chair, I propose.
Proposed by Councillor Tamara, seconded by Councillor Henderson. So could we close the feed down, please?